Now, I think it's fair to say that we've all been through some kind of emergency before. It's just the price you have to pay for living in central Queensland. What happens to communication, though, when the power goes out and the mobile towers are down and we don't have those old-fashioned landlines? Well, you head back to old-fashioned technology. Jeff Brett is Emergency Communication Coordinator for the Central Queensland Amateur Radio Association, and what his team is doing is quite unique. He's caught up with Chrissy Arthur.
Initially, we started out by thinking about who in the community could best help with our assistance, and we determined that the nursing homes would be the most vulnerable in the event of a cyclone or some kind of natural disaster. So we entered into a memorandum of understanding with those organisations to provide radio operators stationed at each of the facilities, and then we could exchange information between those operators when the homes lose their communications. It grew into an item now that's called WinLink, which, to put in very basic terms, means that you can send an ordinary email like you put over your normal computer by radio, and that works by us putting the information into the computer. It goes through a digital conversion box into our radios, and it's transmitted off to one of 5 bases that are situated around Australia.
So do I get an email or do I get a message over the radio?
No, you get a standard email, which is made up in just your basic email type format. And so we can include any kind of medical information or anything important like that, so that when you receive that, you have the data right in front of you.
And when we're talking about radio, we're not talking about ABC radio AM transmission. What kind of radio are you using to transmit emails?
Okay, so we are all radio amateur operators, and we use VHF, UHF and HF in our normal day operation, and we can transmit this particular protocol across that full range. So if it's a very long distance, we can use HF. Today we're using this down at the Livingstone Shire Council hub to act as an emergency backup to all of their equipment they have here, and we quite regularly send emails across to New Zealand to assimilate the fact that we'd lost all protocols in Australia.
Right, so what you're saying is it's a last line of defence. If all other communication methods go down, council, disaster managers, authorities are able to use you and your amateur radio club and volunteers in your club to get messages via radio, via email to where it needs to be.
Yes, that's right. We basically, even today, we're assimilating losing total power. We're actually operating on a battery system. So we're using our computer, battery backup in the computer, and our radios are being run on batteries, and we're still able to provide that exact same service. And at the moment, we've just sent some emails off to Kedron in Brisbane so that they know our situation here in Rockhampton with regards to the exercise of the cyclone.
So if we lost power and this technology wasn't available, would those messages be getting out?
No, not at all. They really wouldn't have any way of sending that information south other than by radio if they lost their power. Quite obviously, when they lose power, it's usually because of an event, and most likely you wouldn't have phones or internet at the same time. So we're very fortunate to be able to offer that assistance to them.
So what do you think is the value of this technology and the service that you provide? Has it been used in a real-life case before, like a Marsha or Debbie?
It's been very widely used in America. They actually have a very, very big network over there. It has become increasingly used in Australia. We haven't actually deployed it in a real-time emergency, but the assimilations that we have done are good enough to prove that, yes, we would be able to do the task on the day.
And are other people using it in Queensland?
To actually physically use it, you need to be a radio amateur, which today is very simple. It's anybody that's got any kind of rudimentary education can get a radio operator's licence that qualifies them to use it. And in Queensland, we are probably the club that has most spent the time, effort and money to establish one of these hubs. We're very fortunate to have one of our members who is extremely interested in it, and he has funded it to a major extent. So, and it is for the betterment of the community and also as an interest to the members.
And you're all volunteers that do this?
Yes, fortunately we're retired, so we do have the time, and yes, totally volunteered. But the hobby in itself is very interesting. It can lead into employment. A lot of the younger members have actually gone into electrical trades and radio trades and stuff like that, so yeah, very good.
It sounds like it's really leading edge. It sounds like you're really kind of pushing the boundary and leading in this particular field.
The actual technology itself is not new, but it has been promoted more widely now, and it's how you utilise the technology. We've found that it's starting to fit in nicely with exactly what they want to do here at the emergency hub, so that they do have the Armageddon effect, where it is the last line of defence if we did lose all other communications.
Interesting stuff, isn't it? That's Jeff Brett there. He is the Emergency Communication Coordinator for the Central Queensland Amateur Radio Association, speaking about how his team can be the backup if we had a natural disaster where everything goes down. And he was speaking to Chrissy Arthur.